Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Had the Powers of Van Helsing movie. Before we start, please go support DavidArmandoLopezRey for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Summary. In the middle of the raiding game against Razer Phoniex, a portal opens where Issei and a group of girls come out who venture into the new world in danger. Clarifications. Issei will have a new weapon during his stay in DXD. Dear Rainer and Miltel will continue to live, now they are pawns of Ria's Gremory. Riaz has a deep hatred towards her Della brother and father Della, who committed her to Razer, so as not to lose the Gremory clan. Issei will be badass. Issei's weapon. Crossbow. Horse blades. Skull and bones hand claws. Katana. Prologue. Dublin City, Ireland. On the street of Dublin there was a group heading to the church of the capital to find out about Dullahan of Ross Castle. This group was formed by Uedachi, Kashima, Kongu, Kaga and their leader Issei Van Helsing, who was recognized as the Helsing monster hunting group in the world. Issei's appearance and clothing in the fic. Uedachi. What a beautiful city, Poi said the blonde with red eyes. Kashima. I agree with you, Ueda-chan, he said to feel the air. Kongu. Kuku, for me it's like a date with my darling, said the Maiko. Kaga. Keep quiet, we are on a mission, said the black-haired girl seriously. While Issei was focused on the mission at the same time, he was watching his girls having fun and looking at the different sights of the city. The group arrived at St. Patrick's Cathedral, where a member of the church gave them information about Dullahan. Issei. Kaga, I ask you to take care of the girl, he said seriously. Kaga. Hey, answered the archer of the group. The chestnut entered the cathedral. Issei went forward on the bench where the father of the city was. The first to speak is the father. Father, good evening Mr. Van Helsing, said the old man. Issei. Good night to you, father, he said respectfully. Father. Well, I'll give you the details about Ross and Dullahan Castle to start the conversation with the chestnut. Meanwhile, outside the cathedral, where the four girls were being watched. Kongu. I wanted to accompany darling inside, she said with a pout. Kaga. No, remember what happened the last time I accompanied you, he scolded the Maiko. Kashima. If I remember correctly, it was on the trip to Rome, he said with nostalgia. Uedachi. I think I activated a button where a small missile came out and destroyed Pope Francis's retirement home outside of Rome, because she said amused. Kongu. I still remember, the good thing was that there were no people, she said nervously about that memory. Returning to Issei, after finishing father's explanation. Issei. So it's located in the southwest of Ireland. Father. Also, in this place a group of witches performed a ritual that they left incomplete, he said seriously. Issei. I understand, thank you father, he said withdrawn from the place. Issei left the cathedral, where his team was waiting for him. Kashima. Where do you find the Dullahan? Albina asked. Issei. We're going to Kerry right now, he said seriously. All nodding their heads in response to their leader. The group went to get a train ticket to get to their destination faster. Ross Castle, night. Issei and his group began walking in Killarney National Park, it was already around 9 p.m, to look for an entrance to the castle. Uedachi. This place gives me the creeps, because she said scared. Kaga. Don't let your guard down, you'll never know when to attack, he said holding his bow. Kashima and Kongu were serious and attentive to any movement inside the park. Issei checks for every sign of Dullahan, but he hears a cry for help near the castle. Issei. Girls, run in that direction, he said running towards where he is for help. They all followed the chestnut tree and began to run towards where the castle was going. When they arrived they saw that there was a couple who were terrified to see Dullahan with his great sword and armor. Without wasting time, Kaga shoots an arrow to give the couple time to escape the place. The Dullahan notices the presence of Issei's group and launches an attack. Issei. Everyone dodged that, exclaimed brown-haired. They all dodged Dullahan's sword slash, creating a small crater. Kongu takes out a kind of magic combat glove and puts it on to start the counterattack. Kongu. Bad, Dullahan-chan, now you will feel my strength, he said to jump and throw a kick at the enemy. Dullahan uses his shield to protect himself from the chestnut's kick, the aforementioned pushes Kongu back with his same shield. The next to make an attack is Kashima, who had a two-gun bracelet. The albino began to shoot at Dullahan, but he again uses the shield. Issei. Girls, this shield will be a problem, he said to summon his katana and launch an attack. Uedachi took out two twin blades in the form of a scorpion and launched an attack against Dullahan. Blonde entered sadistic dart mode with a horizontal slash, while the brown-haired boy opted for a vacuum cut, but the enemy used a new shield to protect from Uedachi and Issei's attacks. Dullahan tried to counterattack, but the chestnut Maiko kicked the enemy in the stomach, causing him to retreat toward several trees in the park and at the same time released his shield after being sent flying. Kaga jumped on top of a tree branch and began jumping from branch to branch while the others began to run where the Dullahan fell. Issei. Kaga, use the anti-gravity arrows on his armor, he said in the middle of a transmission in his ear. Kaga. Understood, replied the black-haired woman. Kaga loads the arrow and aims where the Dullahan is. Without wasting time, he shoots at the enemy's right leg. Dullahan fell to the ground by the force of gravity. Kaga took advantage of giving a signal to his leader. Issei saw Kaga's signal. Without wasting time, he gave orders to the three girls around him. Kashima is the distraction, Uedachi will be the center of attack along with Issei, and finally Kongu will be in charge of placing the device to be eliminated. The plan was set in motion. The albino changed her weapons for missile launchers and aimed at enemies. Without wasting time, she fired the missile at the enemy. The Dullahan removed the arrows from her legs, but it was too late to cover the missile. Uam. The Dullahan got up after receiving the missile, but the blonde came from the right side and Issei from the left side to make a vertical stab towards the being, but once again he blocked Issei's attack, but Uedachi cut off Dullahan's arm, who shed a lot of blood after receiving the cut from the sadistic blonde. Regardless of the pain, the Dullahan get up to kill Uedachi. She jumps back to avoid the attack. When that happens, the brunette puts a plasma bomb on him to eliminate him and flies to where Issei is. Kongu. Darling, the package is on Dullahan's back, she said seriously. Issei. Okay, everyone go to the castle, he said to press the bomb button and began to run towards the castle. Beep 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 beep. The plasma bomb exploded, completely eliminating the Dullahan and part of the nearby trees in the park. Kaga, Kahima, Kongu and Uedachi began to run towards the castle to avoid being eliminated by the plasma explosion. The group broke the door to discover the explosion. They all got up seeing their leader standing and said the following. Issei. Now do the second task, he said seriously. All. Hey, they said in unison. They all started searching for the investigation of the group of witches. The brown-haired boy went to search in the most remote areas, while the rest searched in other areas. Kashima and Kaga went to the library, Kongu and Uedachi went to the throne room. Kashima. What a dirty place, he said, grabbing some books from the library shelves. Kaga. Focus on finding a clue, said the black-haired woman. Kashima. Yes, 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 as you order, he said, heaviness. Meanwhile, with Kongu and Uedachi still looking for something strange. Uedachi. This place scares me, because he said with fear. Kongu. Don't be afraid, we were trained by our darlings, she said proudly. Uedachi. You're right, Kongu-chan, poi, he said with a smile. Kongu. It's my duty to help everyone, he smiled again. So about 20 minutes passed and I searched in another room of the castle. At the same time, the brown-haired boy was checking and found nothing, but suddenly he received a message from Kaga. Kaga. Issei, I found something in the library, she said seriously. Issei. Okay, tell Kongu and Uedachi to go there, said a commanding voice. Kaga. Hi, he said to cut off the communication. 20 minutes later in Ross Castle Library. The rest of the group was already in the library to find out what Kaga and Kashima had found. Both girls were turning to see their partner. Issei. We arrived, said brown-haired as if nothing. Uedachi. What did you find, poi? The blonde asked. Kashima. It's a kind of magic circle, he replied. Issei. I can see it, he said seriously. The two of you moved aside so that Issei could look at the magic circle. The brunette opened his eyes widely when he saw the size of the magic circle and walked into the middle. Kongu, Uedachi and Kaga also approach where Issei is. Kaga. For the first time in a few years working with you, I have never seen a magic circle of that size in my life, she said in amazement. Kongu. Well, I agree with you, Kaga-chan, said the brunette. Kashima found a book left by some of the witches and read some texts. The text is in Old French, so the film Platinum was not understood. Kashima. I don't understand that text, she said confused. Issei. Come closer and give me the book, said Brown. The girl walks to the center where Issei is and gives him the book. Issei knows how to read Old French without any problems, and his parents teach him another language. And the text says the following. It is the gateway to a new world. Issei. This is the entrance to a new world, I will read it out loud. The entire magic circle begins to react. Kaga. What are you going on? He said, staggering. Kongu. I think the magic circle is starting to shine, said the brunette. Uedachi is going to hug Issei just like Kongu, who is terrified at Chestnut's waist. Shine makes you more intense. Issei. Everything he couldn't finish because the spell sent him to another world. World of DxD. Ria's Gremory and her entourage are preparing for the raiding game versus Razor Phoniex, which will be in half an hour. Everyone was in the hidden club. There were Akeno Himejina, Kiba Udo, Kaneko Tajuo, Asia Argento and their two new pawns, Rainer and Middled. Riaz tries to recruit the Red Emperor, but he went with the Citri clan. Iridide was content with her 3 new pieces, but it wouldn't be enough to win her fiancé. Riaz has a great hatred towards her older brother Ella and her father Lord Gremory, who were engaged to Razor when she was 13 years old. Riaz. Okay, boy, today I'll try to win the Gremory heiress with a smile. All. Hi responding enthusiastically. Riaz. I hope a miracle happens she said mentally. Suddenly, a magic circle of the Gremory clan opens and Grafia comes out. Grafia. Riaz-sama, I will take you to the dimension where the game will take place said the maids. Riaz. I understand, Grafia she said to enter the other magic circle created by the maids. The entire Gremory clan was transported to the pocket dimension. Pocket's eyes. Riaz and his boys arrived inside the hidden club that is their base. Asia. We are at school she said looking out the window. Akeno. Ara, Asia-chan is a replicant, said the black-haired girl. Kiba. You chose a good setting said the blonde. Suddenly Grafia's voice comes out as a spokesperson. Grafia. Attention, please, the rating game to cancel the engagement will take place in a replica of the Cow Academy, I will be the judge of this game, she said from a booth. Grafia. Razor-sama's base will be the director's office, and Riaz-sama's base will be the occult club. Grafia. All pawns have access to promote to queen, and the game starts in 15 minutes communication ends. Riaz. Okay, guys we have to plan a strategy said the Redeed. The Keno takes out the school map and puts it on the table in the living room. Riaz. First we have to eliminate the 8 razor pawns, it will be a problem if they all promote to queen while explaining. Middled. How will we do it? Asked the blonde. Riaz. Udo and Kaneko are going to prepare the traps in the forest, said her first order. Udo Kaneko. Understood they said together. Riaz. Akeno, you will take care of Queen Bomb she said seriously. Akeno. Fufu, I'll finally have fun she said with a laugh. Riaz. I didn't trust you that much Asia is going to take care of the remaining pawns. Asia. Hey she said, she is wearing her different outfit with her trusty weapons. Riaz. Ray and Mitlet will be in charge along with Kaneko enters the school gym and has permission to promote finished giving his order to him. Rainer Mitlet. Yes, but you they answered with a smile. Kiba and Kaneko went out to prepare the trap while the others were calm, there were only about 2 minutes left until it started. After 2 minutes passed, Kiba and Kaneko returned to the club. Riaz looked at the clock and stood up and said. Riaz. It's time to get serious. Everyone. There. Grafia. The game rating starts. Next chapter. A werewolf interrupts the rating game. Clarifications. 1 Issei inherited all the powers of the werewolves. Usagi is the new Circuite. 3 Asia was trained from the orphanage with a weapon together with her sacred gear Twilight Healing. 4 I will explain in the next chapter how Riaz reincarnated into Asia, Rainer and Mitlet. 5 The rating game of Riaz vs Razor will have a different change in the novel and anime. Chapter 1 A werewolf interrupts the rating game. Pocket's eyes. Rainer, Mitlet and Kaneko are going to the gym where the 4 pieces of Razor are waiting. When the door was opened, 3 pawns and a rook were already there. Ilr and Nell, Mira and Shulin. Shulin. I expected it, Riaz Gremory Tower, and let's start our fight she said in Chinese clothes. Kaneko. Yuma senpai and Mitlet I'll take care of her she said in a typical expressionless tone. Rainer. Okay, we are the twins she said to pose to fight equally Mitlet. Look, we have a playmate he told his sister about him. Nell. Hey, it's time to take out our friend Chainsaw he said with an innocent smile. Both twins use their chainsaws to attack the 2 former fallen ones who evade the attacks. While the blue-haired girl with a ponytail watches the battle and fights against her there. Rainer. That chainsaw is a nuisance she said dodging Isle's attacks. I'll leave you to cut you into pieces he said with a smile. Mitlet was fighting back with magical attacks against Nell, who was promoted to a tower to defend himself from the blonde's attack. Mitlet. Take that strangle ring creating a ring and throwing it towards Nell. The ring traps Nell, causing him to drop his chainsaw. Nell. Let me go, you damn thing she said trying to remove the ring. Mitlet. Ho, it's time to end it, said the Lolita. In her blonde's hand she was creating a water spear. Mitlet. Water launching ray throwing towards Nell, creating an explosion that knocks her out of her. Look who's on guard versus Mitlet. Look. Now I am your opponents he said to make the first attack with his staff. Mitlet creates a spear of light as a weapon to defend against Mira attacks. Rainer vs Isle. Both pawns were even after promoting to rook, their clothes were torn showing part of their body, Ray's right breasts were showing, but had minor damage, while I lost her chainsaw thanks to Ray throwing a mini light spear, which caused it to explode. Now he uses his fist to fight against the black-haired girl. You are very strong, big tits, said the green-haired girl panting. Rainer. Thanks for your praise, brat, she replied. Well, it's time to finish, he said to bump her fists. Rainer. You're right, she said to get into a fighting pose. The first to attack was Isle, who had her fists to hit Ray in the stomach. Ray evades it and responds with an elbow to Ite's cheek, who did not back down from that. Ray gathers a bit of magic to create a curtain of humor that distracts the green-haired girl. She won't be a coward, she said, trying to look humorous. But he didn't realize it was a Ray trap. Rainer. Percussion strike, exclaimed the former fallen. Earl tried to block, but it was too late. The blow was so strong that it threw him towards where he was. Look who was fighting with Mitlet. Look. What the hell, he couldn't finish because it hit him in the stomach, knocking him out. Ray approaches where his blonde friend is. Rainer. Was it okay? I asked. Mitlet. Yes, and I also think you used too much force at a drop in an I'm style. Rainer. It doesn't matter, we already defeated these three, said the black-haired woman. Mitlet. I agree, but we have to wait for her, he said to look at Kaneko. Rainer. The fight is almost over, she said with a smile. The two were watching the battle of the two towers. Kaneko versus Shulin. The fight between the albino and the Chinese costume started very evenly, Shulin who was punching and kicking Kaneko. Kaneko dodges all of the Blue Eyes' attacks. Shulin gets into a raised butt pose, doing a spinning potato where Kaneko evades, but receives damage to her school uniform. Kaneko jumps back. The albino makes her first move, launching herself at the black-haired girl in a Chinese suit. Shulin is shocked by Kaneko's power of hers. Kaneko makes an American-style tackle, Shulin is knocked down by Gremory Tower. Without wasting time, Kaneko applied a submission hold on the brunette's legs. Ray received a message from Akeno telling him to leave the gym. Mitlet. Finish you off, said the blonde. Kaneko. Yes, she said with her expressionless tone. Rainer. It's time to get out of this place, said the black-haired girl. The girls nod and run towards the exit. Shulin. Hey, don't run away, he said, bothering. But his screams were not heard by the trio, since that place exploded with a ray of Akeno. Rafia. 3 pawns and 1 rook of Razor Sama were removed. Mitlet. I think you scare me, Himejima-senpai, she said, trembling with fear. Rainer. We did a good job, Kaneko-chan, said the former fallen one. Kaneko. Thanks for the praise, Yuma-senpai, she said with her poker face. Akeno. Riaz gave an order and the next step of the plan, she said, was serious. The 3 of them nodding their heads. Mini-group starts to mobilize, but I don't expect an attack from above. The fireball was hit towards Kaneko and Middle, who fell unconscious and lost some of their uniform. Rafia. Riaz Sama's 1 pawn and 1 rook were removed. Rainer. Mitlet, Kaneko-chan, the fallen ex shouted. The 2 girls were transported to the medical center. Both brunettes look up and the Razor Queen Ubaluna was flying. Briary base. Riaz. Damn, we lost Mitlet and Kaneko, she said, clenching her fists. Asia. I think we underestimated the power of the Bomb Queen, she said seriously. Riaz. Asia, said the redeed. Asia. Yes, she said, waiting for an order from her mistress. Riaz. I want you to take care of the 2 sharps and the last raising tower, she said seriously. Asia. As you order, Riaz Sama said to leave the club. Back with Ray and Akeno. Ubaluna had a smile and a cold look. Ubaluna. Fufu, it's useless to fight against Razor Sama, she said arrogantly. Rainer. How are you, bitch, why don't you come down to take off that smile, she said to take out her wings, but was stopped by Akeno. Akeno. That woman is my prey and I want her to go where Udo-kun is, she said to take flight in front of the purple-haired girl. Rainer. Okay, she said to run towards the school warehouse. Akeno. Well, let's begin, Queen Bomba, she said, releasing rays in her hands. Ubelina. I agree, Priestess of Thunder, Akeno replied. Akeno. Enough introduction, she said to create a lightning spear against the Razor Queen. The queen battle has just begun. Kiba versus Marian Sharia Bulant. The trio of women were trying to attack the occult club, but one of them deactivated all the traps that were placed in the forest, but the expected blonde was there. Kiba. I was expecting it, said the blonde. Marian. Move over, pretty boy, said light brown. Kiba. I'm sorry, you're fighting against me, he said to summon his sword. Sharia. Well, we accept your challenge, said the brunette. Bulant. This is a disadvantage against us, he said arrogantly. Marian. Girls to attack, she said to promote the knight and increased her speed. Bulant and Sharia imitated their partner, who was also promoted to knight. Kiba, who smiles, that trio ends up falling into a surprise trap. Chestnut realized that she had just stepped on a magic circle. Bulant. Wait, don't go any further, she was tied by a chain. Sharia and Marion were too late, both were tied up. Sharia. Where did that chain come from? She said, trying to remove it. Marion. Damn, you set that trap, she said angrily. Kiba. It was Akeno's idea, that trap is called shadow chain, he replied. Kiba. Don't worry, that chain only lasts about 2 minutes, he said, attacking. The blonde took advantage of his speed against the trio, making several cuts that were not deep. Marion. Bad, I said, she said to fall unconscious. Raphia. 3 of Razor Sama's pawns were removed. Trio disappeared from the forest. A mini communication circle appears in Kiba's ear. Riaz. Udo, go to the school warehouse, and Rainer is there now, said the redeed. Kiba. Understood, he said before cutting off the communication. Riaz. One more thing, Asia is going to meet you, she said, cutting off the communication. Kiba started moving towards where the sports court is. While laughing, leave the occult club. Riaz. I'm coming for you, Razor, she said mentally. Dubaluna versus Akeno. Both queens were in a battle that was about to be fought, where both were panting from exhaustion. Dubaluna. What's wrong? Are you getting tired? Said the purple-haired girl. Akeno. Ara, I have a little more strength, she said with a smile. The purple-haired girl begins to throw several fireballs at Akeno, the black-haired girl evades some and covers others with a magic shield. Akeno. Now I return your attack, she said, opening several magic circles to release several rays. Dubaluna dodges the rays, but he doesn't expect stronger ones that send him to the ground. Akeno. Ara, that was exciting, she said to lick her finger. Dubaluna takes out a Phoniex tear, begins to drink it and regains strength. Dubaluna. Damn it, I used my last resort against her, she said mentally and flew back to where Akeno was. Dubaluna. Ready to start the second round, she said to release more of her magical power. Akeno. I'm ready to start, she said without losing her smile. Akeno. I must prevent my sadism from getting to my head from her, and I must also play my aces up my sleeve from her, she said in her mind from her. Athletics track. In that place were Kiba and Asia, who was watching the remaining piece of razor. This group was formed by 2 pawns. Mihi and Ravel, 1 last rook. Isabella, 2 knights. Carloman and Cirrus, and finally the 2 pawns. Nai and Lee. Ravel. So you 3 will fight against 7, said the younger Phoenix. Asia. That's right, but I will fight against you, the one in the kimono, and finally the brunette with the red dye, she said seriously. Ravel. Ho, I'm too much for you, she said laughing like Haji-Osama. Asia. Yes, of course, tell my friend the shotgun, he said to start shooting at the younger Phoenix. Ravel makes a shield of fire and cover from the bullet. Ravel. If you want to play like that, fine, said the blonde. Ravel. Isabella, attack, he said as an order. Isabella. At your command, Ravel Sama, she said to launch against Asia. Asia steps back to evade the blow from the red-dyed brunette, but she doesn't expect Ravel and Mihi to fire magical attacks at her. The former nun does her mastery of evading Ravel and Mihi's attacks, without losing a second. Asia begins to shoot magic bullets at the 2. Both bishops raise a barrier that neutralizes Asia's shots, at the same time Asia moves aside after a right-handed blow from Isabella. The former nun kicks Isabella, the aforementioned stops it and now raises her upwards, who takes advantage of Asia and shoots with her machine gun at the blonde Phoenix and the black-haired girl in the kimono. Ravel and Mihi throw a magic attack at the rain of bullets, causing an explosion. Ravel. Where did that 4th-rate nun put you? She said, annoyed. Mihi. I think it was camouflaged within the humor, she said seriously. Ravel. Be on alert, he said, look where Isabella is. While the mood was going away, Asia took advantage of her weapons and it was time to use her hand-to-hand fighting style. Asia. It's time to use your fist street style, said the blonde. When the curtain of humor dissipated, Asia launched herself at Isabella. That left the Phoenix Tower in a bad mood because of the style of the former nun. Asia began to throw a series of punches at her opponent's body, but almost all of them were blocked by the red-tinted chestnut. Isabella. She is very fast with her blows from her, she said mentally. But I do expect Asia to sweep him away with a kick against Isabella's legs. Isabella. What the hell? She said, shocked. Asia took advantage of the fact that a rival was on the ground and applied the Kimura key on Isabella. Isabella tried to get out of the hold, but the former put more magic power into her arm, putting more pressure on the mixed chestnut's arm, leaving him out of the fight. Raphia. A tower of Razor Sama was withdrawn. Asia stands up and looks at her 2 opponents. Asia. It's time to put an end to that, chick, she said amused. Ravel. As you told me, he told me to take out his wings of fire. Asia. Chick, you better know your tsundere wings, she said mockingly. Ravel. You'll pay me for this, he said angrily. Asia. Now, we will change places, she said to run towards the forest. Ravel. Mihi, come with me, he said to fly up. The black-haired girl obeyed the younger Phoenix's order. Kiba vs Carloman. Both boys were showing off their sword style, the two were exchanging and blocking attacks. Carloman. She has good handling of the chestnut sword. Kiba. Thanks for the praise, but I must win, he said to put more strength into his sword. The girl was losing ground against a blonde, she doesn't back down. Clack. Kiba's sword broke, Carloman tried to stab, but suddenly another sword came out in Kiba's hands. Carloman. An ice sword. She wondered. He didn't waste any time and continued to exchange cuts, but everything was blocked. Kiba attacked the brunette again, so that Carloman's sword finally broke due to the ice. She does a backflip. Carloman. She has 2 sacred gears, she asked, and while she took out her second sword, she caught fire. The brunette launches herself at speed to cross swords with the blonde again. The sword appears again, but suddenly another sword with a small black hole. The small hole begins to absorb things, Carloman's sword gets very close to the hole. Carloman. Damn, how many sacred gear do you have? She exclaimed annoyed. Kiba. I don't have multiple sacred gear, he replied. Kiba. I'm just making them, he continued talking. The chestnut paid attention to the word that the Gremory knight said. Kiba. I can create magic swords with my sword bith and short, he said to give a horizontal cut, but the brunette steps back in the air a few meters from the blonde. Carloman. She can create all the magic swords she wants. Kiba puts his hands on the ground and many swords come out approaching Carloman. Carloman jumps up and says the following. Carloman. That's impressive, she said in the air and landed on the ground. Kiba created a sword of electricity and with the speed of his piece, he reached the brunette's back of her. Carloman didn't see the blonde and he was now behind her. Kiba. You lost, he said to hit the sword with the handle of the sword. Carloman. I accept my defeat, she said to fall knocked out to the ground. Rafia. One of Razor Sama's knights was removed. Cirrus, who was fighting against Ray, saw that his fellow knight was eliminated. Cirrus. Nai and Lee, I leave you with her, referring to Ray. Nai and Lee. Hi, said the Nekomata sisters. Cirrus began to run and jump very high, raising his swords back. Kiba took out his swords to clash blades with the ponytailed black-haired girl in midair, causing a wave of dust. Cirrus. You are very good with the sword, he said with a smile. Kiba. And also while putting strength. The two separated and clashed swords again with incredible speed. Ubaluna vs Akeno back. The second round was being much wilder, where an Akeno who launches her attacks in different directions against the bomb queen, despite having taken her emergency Phoenix tier, but now it was costing her to block the Thunder Priestess's rays. Akeno. Ara, you're going to run out of magic, she said mockingly. Ubaluna. Not yet, I'm preparing my last attack, she said seriously. The purple-haired girl was gathering a large amount of fire magic and growing bigger. Ubaluna. Receive this, Thunder Priestess, throwing the fireballs. Akeno raises a magic shield, but due to the large amount of fire, she couldn't resist. After that explosion, Ubaluna had a smile. Ubaluna. I have to go help Razor Sama since he was now fighting against Ria Sama, she said worriedly. Akeno. My king will beat Razor up, she said from the mood of the explosion. Ubaluna was in disbelief to see Akeno still in the air. Ubaluna. CC, how did you survive my attack, she said annoyed. Akeno. It was my own will, and first of all that I should not trust before rivals like you, said the brunette showing her big breasts. Ubaluna. Damn, I only have a few magic beads left for an attack, she said in her mind. Akeno. Now you're going to receive my best attack, she said seriously. The black-haired girl was creating a medium-sized ball of lightning and was throwing it at Ubaluna. Akeno. Lightning blast, she exclaimed. The balls were reaching Ubaluna, who the aforementioned created a protective shield. When it made contact with the shield, Akeno's attack made you bigger and that caused an explosion in the Razor Queen. Ubaluna. Shit, took damage from the attack. Rafia. Razor Sama's queen was removed. The purple-haired girl was falling and was taken to the medical center. Akeno. I reached my limit, she said to fall exhausted and falling on her back. Rafia. Ria Sama's queen was removed. The raiding game was reaching its climax, only Ria's, Asia, Kiba and Rainer remained, while Razor only has his sister Ravel, Mihi, Cirrus, Nai and Lee. Razor was upset he just lost 9 of his pieces, that made him explode with fury. Razor. Damn Riaz, how did you get so strong, said Blonde. Riaz. What's wrong, don't you see the result? The Redeed said seriously. Razor. That shouldn't have happened, he said to dodge a ball of power of destruction. Riaz. Saber Razor, before going to the human world, I met a good fighting master who trained me in my power, he said to cover his fists with the power of destruction. The Gremory heiress launched her fist to hit Razor in the stomach, the blonde made an X with her arm, thus blocking Ria's blow from her. He stepped back several meters from the school roof. Razor noticed that he just lost some of his clothes, he growls in annoyance. Razor. It's very strong my dear Ria said the blonde. Razor. I want you to surrender he shouted to release more fire from his body. Iri didn't even flinch at her fiancé's threat from her. Ria's. I didn't give up on a damn womanizer she said annoyed and in her fighting pose. Razor. As if that's what he wants, well then take that attack he said to launch a large fireball against Ria's. The ball was going to arrive, Ria's put up a barrier to block the impact of the Razor's attack. Suddenly from above the sky the dimension was opening. Issei's group falls on the rooftop in the middle of the explosion of Razor's attack. Razor. I think I won he said arrogantly. Razor looks into the middle of the fiery explosion, but he didn't expect that there was a group of 5 people who received his attack while Ria's was still intact. Razor. What the hell? I asked annoyed. After removing the fire, the blonde sees that there were 4 beauties and a boy of Ria's age. Ria's was surprised to see that unknown group in front of her until one of them spoke. Udachi. We're here, Poi said the blonde of the group. Haga. Yes, but we are in a school he said to observe the whole place. Issei, Kashima and Kongu also inspected the entire environment where he was. The chestnut saw a battle on the school track and another in the forest and came to a conclusion. Issei. I think we're in the middle of a battle he said seriously. Kashima. Why do you say that? She said curiously. Haga. You're right, Issei he said watching the battle of Kiba vs Cirrus and Ray vs Nai and Lee. Suddenly Razor speaks. Razor. Hey, doll, why doesn't that loser leave? He said to get the attention of Udachi, Kashima, Kongu and Kaga. The 4 of them turned to see the Phoenix heir and the 4 of them laughed. And KKK. Ha 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 ha. Kongu. That guy thinks I'm not leaving my darling, said the brown-haired girl wiping away tears of laughter. Kashima. Now, I'm sorry, I don't like that kind of man with bad taste, said the platinum-haired woman. Kaga. You are a pig said the black-haired girl with disgust. Udachi. Our Issei is more of a man than you, because he said to give him the final blow. After receiving those 4 fatal blows to his pride from Razor who is more furious and had a thirst for blood against the brown-haired man who looked at him seriously. Razor. You know what, I've changed plans. Our fight can wait and now I'm going to concentrate on that guy. He said as he took off. After taking height, Razor launches against Issei through the school floors, Issei was taken to where the 3rd grade classrooms are. And KKK. Issei they shouted nervously. Riaz approaches the group and asks. Riaz. Edo, excuse me, why are you nervous? She said curiously. Haga. Before answering your question, that person knows you said seriously. Riaz. Yes, he is my fiancé Razor Phoenix, heir to the Phoenix clan she replied. Kashima. I think he needs a will for his death she said amused. Riaz was going to answer when the rest arrived that made them pause their fight. Kiba. Guacho, it's okay said blonde. Riaz. Yeah, I'm fine she said with a smile. Asia. Riaz ni sama, I'll help you recover your energy she said to activate her sacred gear. Riaz. Thanks, Asia said the redeed. Rainer. Who are these girls? He said, pointing to the group of Issei. When he was about to speak, Ravel interrupted. Ravel. Where is my Nai-sama? Said a blonde with a drell. Hongu. Your brother took my darling down said the brunette pointing to the hole they made. Cirrus. Why did Razor-sama do that? The knight asked. Kashima. He got angry because we didn't pay attention to him he said as if nothing happened. Udachi. Now he's in danger, Poi said the nervous blonde. Nai and Lee. Why said the Nekomata sisters. Kaga. Our leader is a werewolf she said seriously. Everyone went into a state of shock because of the news Kaga said. Ravel. Girls, come on help my Nai-sama said the blonde. Nai at least Cirrus Mihi. As you command, Ravel-sama they said in unison and go help their king. The 5 were going down, but they were shot by a Kaga arrow. Kaga. I'm sorry, I can't go he said coldly. Cirrus. Damn, how dare you shoot us he said to attack them. Nai and Lee also charged at the chestnut group. Ravel. Hey, don't waste your time she said annoying. But suddenly he received a cut on his bedside table from a Kaga arrow. Ravel. Okay, what do you want to fight with? She said to release her magical firepower. Both groups start fighting, while the remaining Gremory watch. Rainer. What are we going to do? Guacho said the black-haired girl. Riaz. Let's fight and help the 4 she said seriously. The 3 of them agreed and also launched into the attack. The IP room. In that room were the 4 demon kings, Lord and Lady Phoenix, Zeoticus and Venelana watching the course of the battle. Meanwhile, on the other side, there was the council that was angry at the arrival of that group of Issei. But he was curious to see a werewolf transformation, so he asked the searchers to continue the raiding reign with a new guest in the battle to break the engagement. Back to the dimension. Razor, who launched several fireballs at Issei, the brown-haired boy, evaded some and received others with a bang, thus losing part of his suit. Razor. He's going to fight, or he's going to keep hiding, he said to create several fireballs. Issei. Shit, all my weapons ran out of ammunition, he said behind the teacher's desk. Issei. I only have to use my werewolf powers, he said to leave the desk. Razor took advantage to throw his fireballs, Issei showing off his ability to dodge all the fireballs, but he didn't realize the blonde appeared behind him. Razor. You fell into my trap, he said to give him a very strong kick and threw him against the wall. Issei went through the wall from the impact of the blonde's kick. Issei. Pure guy spat out a lot of blood. Well, Razor, who had a smile. Razor. I want to bet, said the blonde. Issei. What kind of bet? The brown-haired boy asked. Razor. I can give you some pieces if you win against me, but you lose against me. While his smile widens. Razor. This girl will be mine, and you watched as I bucked her like a whore, said blonde. Issei. Son of a bitch, will I accept your bet, he said, getting up. The atmosphere became very heavy, the Razor's instincts told him to run away from there. Issei removes the garment from his torso and begins to transform. Razor was terrified at what he was seeing now. After completing the transformation, Issei became a werewolf. Next chapter. Werewolves vs Phoniex. Clarifications. 1. The attacks that Mitlet and Rainer used were based on the Winx Club series, it would be like fairy magic. 2. Trap that Akeno made in the Razor Servant, used the Yu-Gi-Oh trap card. 3. I made the Battle of Yubaluna vs Akeno a little longer. 4. Riaz and her children had a teacher who helped develop their powers and is known as Benalana. 5. Which Razor piece goes to Issei's group? Chapter 2. Werewolf vs Phoniex. Second year classroom. The Phoniex heir was trembling in fear as he saw a large werewolf staring at him with murderous intent. The werewolf made a loud howl throughout the place, leaving a little stunned. Razor regained his hearing. Razor. That howl doesn't scare me, said the blonde. Razor. And now die, he said to throw a fireball. The fireball was about to reach him, but the werewolf uses agility to dodge the fireball. The werewolf takes momentum in his jump to reach Razor, the aforementioned tries to create a shield later, but it was too late, the path gave him a very hard punch in the stomach of Razor, causing him to send him up. Without wasting time, he kicked him, sending him through the window. Razor gets up after being sent flying and spitting out a large amount of blood. Razor. Damn, that hurt a lot, he said, annoying. As the werewolf looked at where his prey fell, he began to run towards the broken window where he threw the blonde Phoniex. The werewolf lands on the ground, creating a medium crater. Razor. I think I have to put a leash on a dirty dog, he said to release his fire. The werewolf growls at that comment and starts running to try to attack. Razor threw a number of fireballs in different directions at the werewolf. Issei evades one by making a great leap upwards, then launches a kick straight into the stomach, creating a crater with the body of the Phoniex heir. Without wasting any time, he grabs the leg and begins to whip it on the ground several times. After leaving Razor in the crater, Issei flies back to his human form and looks into the crater. Issei. I'll stay there, he said seriously. The chestnut looks up where his team is fighting. Suddenly Issei evades a fireball, the brown-haired boy sees that Razor is getting up. Issei. You would have been left in that crater, he said emotionlessly. Razor. Damn, nobody humiliates me, he said furiously. Issei. Because always pretentious, he said heaviness. Issei turns back into a werewolf. The second round Issei vs Razor was on point. Kiba and Uedachi vs Cirrus. The three swordsmen were fighting in another place with more space, the blonde summoned the new whip sword. Cirrus. What an interesting sword you have, said the black-haired girl with a ponytail. Uedachi. I am an expert in different sword styles, because she said sadistically. While crossing the sword, Kiba makes a jump to make a slash against the Phoenix Knight. Cirrus separates from Uedachi to counterattack Kiba. Uedachi throws a whip at Cirrus, she mentions it, blocks it with her sword and returns her attack, while Kiba increases his speed to make a vertical slash. Once again the brunette crosses blades with the blonde. Siri. Gremory Knight, you have no chance of winning, she said arrogantly. Kiba. As long as I don't give up, he said to put more strength into his sword. Both swordsmen exchange clashes of their sword blades. The brunette didn't notice that Uedachi was preparing his counterattack from her. Cirrus. This is as far as I can go, he said to make a horizontal cut against Kiba. Kiba bends his back avoiding Cirrus's cut and said the following. Kiba. You fell into her trap, she said the blonde. Cirrus looked up at the blonde whose sword was surrounded by pink energy. Udachi his movement towards the black-haired boy with a ponytail. Udachi. Sukumpian Zukuntadansu Scorpion Court Dance Red Eyes exclaimed. The blonde lashes out differently at different parts of Cirrus's body, where she begins to bleed. Cirrus. Wow, I think it's my defeat, he said, fainting due to blood loss. Raphia. Razor Sama's last night was withdrawn. Udachi. We did it, because he said, jumping with joy. Kiba. That was very sadistic what you said, the nervous blonde did with a drop on his head in I'm style. Udachi. Now, we have to help her, look at the others, she said seriously. Kiba. Then let's go, said the blonde, to walk where you are besides. Asia and Kashima versus Mihi. The bishop's battle was attacked with magical powers. The Maiko created several elemental attacks against the two girls, although the blonde and albino made a show of evading all the brunette's attacks. Kashima. Now, that Maiko stops attacking very often, she said annoyed. Asia. But we have to find a weak point, she said seriously. Mihi. I suggest you give up, you have no chance of winning, he said arrogantly. Kashima. Oh, I'm sorry, the word surrender is not in the dictionary, said Albina, summoning an M9 to start the counterattack fired at the black-haired girl. Mihi creates a barrier of fire so that bullets will melt you instantly, but she mentions it and is alerted that Asia was going to shoot at her. The brunette fights back. Mihi. Such water pillar, she exclaimed. Behind the Maiko comes a pillar of water that goes directly towards the former nun. Asia. TCH, I won't be able to protect that attack, said the blonde. The pillar hit Asia's body brutally. Asia. Kai, she screamed in pain and was falling on her back. Asia. Before I leave, I will take the last shot, he said to take his cross rifle that was loaded with magical power. Mihi raises a magic barrier to protect herself from shots. Asia. Take that, bitch, said the blonde to throw her powerful shots at the Phoenix bishop. The shots went at a speed against the black-haired girl's barrier, but they couldn't withstand the barrier that the bullets that hit Mihi pierced, causing an explosion. Asia. I finished my work, he said, closing his eyes, disappearing from the game. Raphia. Riyasama's bishop was removed. After that explosion, the black-haired girl was half-wounded in her arm by the bullet. Mihi. Damn it, he said with hatred. The Maiko did not see the albino after the former nun shot her. Mihi. Where is it? She said, looking everywhere. Kashima. I'm on your back, he said, hitting him on the back of the neck. The brunette falls unconscious to the ground. Raphia. Razor Sama's second bishop was removed. Kashima sees how her friend Ella and the blonde Gremory were arriving towards her. Udachi. How is it, Poi, said the blonde. Kashima. The girl gave us a fight, but I had a loss, he said with a half-sad expression. Kiba. Asia said in a low voice. Kashima. But she made the last move, said Albina. Udachi. Well, I have to have Kongu and Kaga fight, she said seriously. Kashima. Then let's go, he said, moving the blondes together. Kongo Rainer versus Lee and Nai. The brunette was exchanging punches with a Redeed, while the black-haired girl was dodging the blue-haired girl's kick. Lee. You are good at fighting, he said, giving a series of punches. Kongu. Thanks, I have years of experience, he said to block the Redeed's blows. Lee steps back to do an upward jump. Lee. Bikiku bear kick, he exclaimed so that his foot was covered in kai. The Redeed launches her kick against the brunette, but Kongu steps back to avoid Lee's kick and hits the ground. Hongwo. Now it's my turn to counterattack, she said seriously. The Maiko activates her magic circle in her gloves, she launches herself at speed towards Lee, but the Redeed makes X to cover herself. Kongu. Checkmate, he said, throwing his punch at Lee's stomach. The Redeed's defense was useless against the brunette's blow, and she was thrown against a wall. Lee spits out a little blood and falls knocked out. Raphia. A pawn of Razor Sama was removed. Kongu. Yay, great, he said, striking a victory pose. Nai. Lee said the blue-haired girl was alarmed. Rainer. Hey, don't be distracted, said the black-haired woman as she kicked towards Nai's side of her. Nai. Damn it, he said with hatred. The blue-haired girl evades the kick from the fall to make her counterattack. Nai. Fukusa Pancharain Fox-style punch, Rain, I have exclaimed. The series of blows was causing damage to part of Rainer's body. Rainer. Wow, she said in pain and spitting blood. Nai. It's time to finish you off, he said to gather Kai in his arm. Nai. Fukusa Kiku Fox kick, I have exclaimed. The kick towards the black-haired girl's head, Rainer tries to block the kick, but it was useless since the kick changed course towards her rib. Rainer. Kai. The fallen body was lying on the ground and without energy, looking towards Nai. Rainer. I'm sorry, but you said unconsciously. Raphia Sama's last pawn was removed. Nai. Now you go on, he said, pointing at the chestnut. Kongu. That's how she wants to avenge her sister, she said by posing her kicker. Nor. Is it going to fall, he said to spear towards Chestnut. Honggu launched himself to attack, where the brunette evades the blue-haired girl's blow, where the brunette does a combo with her teacher Vanessa. Honggu. Sut combo star combo, I have exclaimed. After finishing the combo, Nai's body flies out unconscious. Rafia. Razor Sama's last pawn was withdrawn. Honggu. Wow, that was exhausting, she said tiredly. The brunette manages to see Kashima and the two blondes approaching. Kashima. Finish your fight, said Albina. Honggu. Yes, although my partner wasn't very lucky, said the brunette. Kiba. She made the greatest effort after fighting so much, and it was obvious that tiredness was going to be key, said blonde. Udachi. I agree with him, because he said the red-eyed blonde. Honggu. Who was about to finish her fight, said curiously. Kashima. This Kaga with that retreat against Yakitori's sister, said Albina. Udachi. I suggest we go with Kaga since with Issei, it's not necessary, she said seriously. Honggu. Let's go, said the brunette. So the group goes into the final fight. Kaga and Rias versus Ravel. The battle is very tense where there was destruction due to the attacks of Ravel and Rias, while Kaga shoots at the blonde, but the aforementioned burns her arrow. Ravel. It's a thing, it's no use against me, said the blonde with a drill. Kaga. Shit, I have no choice but to shoot a dark arrow with her cursed bow, she said annoyed. Rias. Are you okay? The retreat asked. Kaga. Yes, but I will make changes to my arsenal, she said seriously. Rias. Then, I'll cover your back, she said with a smile. Kaga makes a magic circle, where a set of bow and arrow series comes out black. Each arrow contains a very dangerous magic made by the goddess Morrigan at her side in Ireland. Kaga. Well, it's time to get very serious, said the black-haired girl. While Rias and Ravel exchanged magical attacks, both of them had their clothes torn to shreds by each other's attacks. Ravel. Why Rias-sama, why don't you agree to marry my Nai-sama? The blonde said, throwing several fireballs. Rias. I'm sorry Ravel, I do an apostrophe T love Razor, she said, disgust in her voice. The Redeed makes a magic circle of protection to protect from Ravel's attacks. Rias. I can't take all the attacks. Suddenly Kaga shoots an arrow that makes contact with the Phoniex fireball. Kaga. Go take cover in a safe place, said the black-haired girl to Rias. Rias. Understood, she replied. Rias walks out of the hallway followed by Kaga. The arrow was glowing that caused an explosion throughout the room. Ravel. Damn, couldn't finish because of the explosion that came. Boom. All the group fell to the ground from the explosion. Kiba. What was that explosion? I asked. Honggu. It was Kaga's work, said the brunette. Udachi. We have to move forward, I'm missing a battle, Poi, said the blonde. So I quickened my pace from where I was with the two. Meanwhile with Rias and Kaga he was on the school stairs. Rias. What kind of arrow should I use on you? The Gremory era said. Kaga. They are arrows that have a very ancient power, he replied. Rias. I see, she said, her eyes closed. Kaga. It's the first time I've used it before a Phoenix, she said seriously. Rias. Ravel must have regenerated after the explosion and now he will look for us, said the Redeed. Kaga. If that's the case, I have a plan, said the black-haired girl. Rias. What's the plan? She said curiously. Kaga. I have an arrow, an anti-magic arrow, he said explained. Rias. The arrow takes effect by using its power of fire and regeneration, she said, making the idea. Kaga. Exactly, but I need a distraction, she said seriously. Rias. I'd be happy to be the distraction while you shoot the arrow, she said with a smile. Kaga. Let's start the operation to defeat Lesser Yakitori, he said with an equal smile. Both girls go back up to where Ravel was, while Blonde was furious. Ravel. Damn, human, how dare you do that to a Phoenix, she said annoyed. Ravel. He's going to lose anyway, and I'll force him to be my pet, she said laughing like Aojo-sama. The Hyperium. In the Elders' Council room he was impressed by Issei's group power, but more so with Issei's werewolf transformation, where he was arguing to have the brunette and his group in his row, so they decided to engage with 3 women, and among them was Rias, and only 2 more candidates were missing. All the 4 mass were also impressed by Issei's group, but the green-haired mass had already thought to study the Kaga arrow for the destructive level in the fight against Ravel. The others are shocked, but Serafal had an arrow in her heart when she saw Issei in werewolves, but the remaining 2 saw Issei as a danger to them. In the other room, Venelana was happy for her daughter's effort to break that engagement with Razor. She also sees a future with Issei and Rias, while Lord Gremory was furious that his plan was failing, while the Citri clan was also impressed by the power level of their friend and rival, but the blonde pawn had a hatred for the brunette for having 4 beauties in her group. He looks for a way to challenge Issei in the future. Personal opinion of the author. Dour. Ha 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 ha, he's an idiot. Saji tries to challenge Issei, where his bitch will do it. Dour. Well, back to the story. Back to Kaga and Riaz versus Ravel's fight. Riaz was throwing several mini-power balls of destruction at Ravel, but the blonde counterattacked with her fire, the aforementioned large fireball in her hands. Ravel. Riaz-sama, this is where you come from, I am your children's godmother, said the blonde. Riaz. Thinking about it no she said mockingly. Ravel. Then, he couldn't finish because an arrow fell on his shoulder. Ravel sees that her attack on her has disappeared and looks at the person responsible. Ravel. You said scream of fury. Kaga. You fell into my trap said the black-haired girl. Kaga. She is helpless against a target she exclaimed. The blonde tries to remove the arrow from her shoulder, but her guard falls to a fighting attack. Riaz, I'm sorry Ravel, I want to be with someone who loves me, she said to create a ball of power of destruction launched towards the blonde. Ravel took out the arrow, but she didn't manage to make a barrier in time. After receiving the attack, she fell to her side and disappeared from the game. Rafia. Ravel-sama withdraws from the game. Kaga. We did it he said with a smile. Riaz. Yes, but it was hard said the redeed. The two look at the group coming towards them. Kiba. But you, are you okay? Said the blonde. KKY. Kaga, her friends exclaimed. Kaga. Girl she said surprised. Kashima. Now, you got beaten up said Albina. Kaga. Yes, that girl has overwhelming power he replied. Hangu and Uedachi go to the window, where he was watching the battle between Issei and Razor. Uedachi. Girls, come see the battle said the blonde. The entire group goes to the window, where the word was lost for words. Riaz was in shock at seeing a werewolf in person, and at the same time she feels attracted to him in a way. The group of girls and Kiba were watching the blonde Phoniex being massacred. Issei versus Yakitori. Second round was much bloodier, where the blonde could no longer regenerate due to the magical werewolf slime, where he lost his regeneration for a few days. Razor had a cut on his stomach, back and between parts of his body where a lot of blood was coming out, while Issei was unharmed. How was the fight? Imagine the battle between Hank Werewolf Ferner versus Roy Graham, guard dog of the Nordic underworld. The blonde was fighting with his fists, but Issei blocked several blows and thus counterattacked with a kick that sent him towards the other buildings but in another empty room. Without wasting any time, Issei ran to where his prey fell in the school building. Blonde was up from the damage and said the following. Razor. Shit, I have no chance against that monster he said scared. Razor. I want to get out of that place, I don't want to die. The blonde was going to try to leave the room, but the place made him heavy. Phoenix's instincts alerted him not to look since Issei was behind him. Issei. Where do you think you're going faggot he said in a deep voice. Issei. I'm not done yet like you said as he approached Razor. Razor was paralyzed with fear and was urinating as his executioner approached. Razor. PPP please, PPP spare my life he said stuttering. Issei lifts him up with his arm and forces him to look at his face. Issei. Say the magic word he said squeezing the neck. Razor. Racier Phoenix I surrender to Issei-sama said the blonde and fainted. Rafia. Razor-sama surrendered and the winner is Riaz and young man's group. Issei returned to his human form where he fell to his knees very exhausted. Issei. Damn, that was so tiring said brown-haired. Suddenly the dimension was missing, the group of Issei and Riaz and Kiba arriving at the Citri hospital to recover their energy and the damage caused in the fight. The council already decided that Issei will be Ria's fiancé when she recovers, while the red-haired father and son were pissed that their plans failed. Chapter 3 Presentations. Citri Hospital. Our hunter was resting in his bed, suddenly the door opens brutally. Kongu. Good day darling said the cheerful brunette. Issei wakes up little by little to see Kongu in her room. Issei. Kongu, what are we doing here? Said his leader of him. Other voices coming into the room were Kashima, Uedachi, Kaga and lastly it was a demon sent by the elder council who was silent. Kashima. You slept well, I said Albina. Issei. Yes he replied with a smile. Kaga. It's a relief to see you well said the black-haired girl. Uedachi. You beat that chicken up a good thing is not to kill yourself, said the blonde amused. Issei. I think I overdid it a lot said brown-haired. Kongu. That doesn't matter, I think it caused you emotional trauma he said simply. The envoy spoke and called the attention of the chestnut group. Ed. Young man, I ask you to accompany us to the council, said the man. Issei. Can you tell me the reason? He said seriously. Ed. The elders and 4 demon kings want to meet you he replied seriously. Issei. I see wait an hour to change said brown-haired. Ed. Understood, young man he said leaving the room. Kashima. Now, he was very respectful said Albina. Kaga. I agree, when we left that dimension we were protected she said in amazement. Udachi. Those hells are more peaceful than our world, Poi said the blonde. Issei. Hello, it's time to get up and change, said brown-haired. Issei. Girls, I want to go out to change, he said, getting out of bed. All. Hey, they said in unison. They left the group in the room, Issei taking out his father's old outfit from a personal dimension. Issei. I never thought I'd use you, now seeing the briefcase, without wasting time he opens it. Passing by as an average, where Issei finished changing and leaving the room. The four girls saw the brown-haired boy wearing his father's clothes, each one had a blush. Issei. Let's go, he said with a smile. Dodo. High raised hands. So the group moved to be in the waiting room where the demon was waiting. Ed. Finally, coming down, said the man. Issei. Yes, we will go, said brown-haired. Ed. Our transport is outside, he said in a respectful tone. Issei and girls leaving the hospital and seeing their vehicle where they were going was a Victorian-style carriage. The group boards the carriage together with the envoy, the driver begins the journey to the council chamber. Issei was sitting at the right window, while Udachi was sitting at the other left window, Kaga, Kongu and Kashima in the middle. The girls stared at the buildings and places that looked like the human world. Kashima. That's surprising, said the platinum-haired girl in amazement. Kaga. I agree with you, said her friend of her. Issei. I always thought that hell was a place of fire, and it turns out that there are cities, said Brown. Ed. It is the capital of Lilith and is ruled by the four demon kings, said the man. Issei. I'm interested in hearing Hell's story, said the monster hunter. So the man told him the story of the war of the factions and the civil war, where the demons had to choose a new mass who rules them now. It was Surzich's Lucifer, Seraphol Leviathan, Falbium Asmodeus and Ajuka Beelzebub. The man said that Mau Beelzebub created the evil peace to increase the number of demons due to the past two wars. He also said that the low and middle class demons suffered discrimination from the high class demons and nobles. Hearing that part, Issei had a certain memory of his visit to France and Germany with the nobles when he was requested. The brown-haired boy has a certain hatred for the nobles for their arrogance and thirst for power. Now in that world now it was worse that there was noble demon, his bad luck haunts him. So they talked with the man, while their girls were busy looking at the things in Lila's capital. The carriage arrived at its destination, the demon council hall. One of the guards opened the door where the girls got off, then Issei and Envy. Ed. Please follow me, the man ordered. The group obeyed and entered the place, escorted by the hall's guards. When the group reached the gate, the man told the young men to show respect to the four mouses in the council. Issei acting normal and entering the room. Inside the room there was a lot of people sitting in the middle were the four mouses. The first one to take the words is Mas Lucifer. Surziches. You have come, young man, said the Retid with a fake smile. Issei. It is a pleasure to meet Mas Urzich Lucifer, Seraphol Leviathan, Falbium Asmodeus and Ajuka, Beelzebub said with respect and elegance. Seraphol. What a polite young man, he said, was the black-haired girl with a ponytail. Ajuka. I've never seen a human show respect towards us, said the green-haired man. Issei. See, Beelzebub-sama couldn't finish when the Mau raised his hand. Ajuka. Just tell me, Ajuka said. Issei. Okay, Ajuka-sama, my parents raised me to lead the high command person, well, he responded. Ajuka. What a good father you had, said the green-haired boy. Issei. Thanks for the praise, said Brown. The president of the council spoke. DC. Young man, can you introduce yourself? Said a serious man. Issei made a serious expression before those present. Issei. Let me introduce myself, my name is Issei Van Helsing, he said with elegance and reverence. Palbium. Young Van Helsing, how did you get here? Said the bald mass. Issei. Well, I'm not from this world, he replied. After hearing this revelation, the elders began to discuss this information. PC. Order, order, said the president in a strong voice. Everyone calmed down and the president spoke again. PC. Young Van Helsing, can you tell us how you got here? He said. Issei told him that he was a monster hunter, where his father was also a hunter in the ancient times of Vatican. That information the some elders and two mass looked at Brown as a danger. The Brown told him that he and his father were never faithful to the church, it was only as a mercenary that relieved Seraphol and the other half of the council. DC. So your father was a werewolf? I asked. Issei. Yes, during his mission in Romania to kill Count Dracula, he said, brown-haired. Killer. Valtreep said curiously. Issei. Yes, the Count had the plan of world domination by turning into vampires, he said, recounting the battle. Seraphol. What happened next? She said, excited by the story. Issei. My father went to the castle with my mother and a monk to face the Count, said Chestnut. Issei. When arriving inside, my father went towards him, and while my mother went to fight against two followers of Dracula. Ajuka. Begins there his transformation, he said curiously. Issei. Yes, where he had a very difficult battle against the Count, but in the end my father defeated him and ended his plan for world domination. DC. I see, after finishing the battle and going away for a while to have a family, that's true, said the man. Issei. Yes, years later, in a town in Germany, my mother gave birth to a boy, said brown-haired. Bajuka. That child was you, inheriting the powers of werewolves, said the green-haired man. Issei. Yes, when my father found out that I inherited his power from him, he told me that at age 10, I would begin my training as a monster hunter. DC. Impressive, he said in amazement. Ravel. That Ice-chan, how did you make your team? She said curiously. All in Issei. Ice-cha. They said confused. Issei. Hello, Ravel-sama, I was on my hunting trip where I found missions in Japan, Issei said. Ravel. Tell me, Sarah-chan, she said with a pout. Issei. I'm sorry, don't do that, said brown-haired. DC. Can you introduce us to your team, young Van Helsing? The man said. Issei. After all, he was born in Udachi, Kaga, Kashima and Kongu. The forementioned came forward and bowed. Bajuka. Back to the topic, you said you were from another world and how you got there, he said intrigued. Issei. It was my mission from Ireland to finish off Dullahan and investigate an investigation that witches left many years ago, he said seriously. Bajuka. What happened next? He said enthusiastically. Issei. We entered a castle, in the library we found a large magic summoning circle where Kashima found a text in French and brought us to his world end. The elders were muttering about the chestnut tree and his group until the president spoke. DC. Good young Van Helsing, after defeating the heir Phoniex, the council has decided that Ria's Gremory and 2 more will be promised, he said with a smile. The group went into shock at that news. Issei. By beating the Akatori, I'll get engaged to her, he said, upset. DC. It's the law of the clan, said the man. Issei. If so, I will approve him to become the matriarch of Van Helsing, he said seriously. Half and the president had a smile at having true allies, while the other, along with Amas, Lucifer and Asmodeus, see them as weapons. Bajuka. Young Issei, don't worry, we will send you a house to the human world and we will also send you some weapons that you can use in the hunt for renegade demons, said the green-haired mass. DC. About the bet that Razor Phoniex made and what pieces he will take, said old man. Issei. His second knight is called Cirrus, his tower is Shulin and 3 pawns Isle and Nell and Buland, he said chestnut. DC. I see, we will talk to the leaders of the Phoniex house to release 5 pieces and go with you, said a serious man. Sirzich. Young Issei and his group are going to the Gremory castle to meet his fiancée, said the Redeed, who was angry inside and cursing the brown-haired man. So Issei's group was leaving the room and now had a destination to go to the Gremory castle. Gremory castle. Issei and his girls were amazed by the size of the castle, where a maid guided him inside the castle where Ria's parents, Ria's and entourage were waiting for him. When arriving at the room, Lord Gremory, who contained his anger, went to see the brown-haired boy while Venelana made her presentation to Issei and the group. Venelana. Good afternoon, young man, let me introduce myself, my name is Venelana Gremory, mother of my daughter, said the brunette. Issei. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lady Venelana, he said with a smile. Venelana. Now, praise me, she said, putting her hands to her mouth. Lord Gremory. I am Ria's father and leader of the clan, said the eldest Redeed with a look of contempt towards Issei. Issei. It's a pleasure, he said to shake hands. Ria's makes his presentation of him. Ria's. My name is Ria's Gremory, said the Redeed. Issei. My name is Issei Van Helsing, we met in the middle of the raiding game against Yakitori, said Chestnut, dedicating a smile to Ria's. Ria's and Venelana laugh at the Razor's nickname, while the 2 Redeeds dislike the brunette's presence of her. Venelana. Issei-kun, since you are my daughter's fiancé, I want you to ask me to take care of her and keep her father and brother Duella away from her, Duella, said the brunette. Issei. Lady Venelana, I will do it, and since your daughter will take a Van Helsing test, he said seriously. Venelana. In what conscience is that test, she said curiously. Issei. During a full moon, she has to give herself body and soul to her husband during the werewolf killing, he said without flinching. Venelana. Phew, I'm dying to have a grandson, she said amused. Ria's, who is not bothered by this test from her new fiancé. Ria's. I will give him that test and win his trust and love of her, she said determined. Issei. That's the attitude, said the brown-haired boy happily. All the 4 were happy to have one more member. Issei and his girls together with Ria's had a meal in the dining room and talking. After we saw Ajuka along with the 5-piece free razor. Venelana suggested to her new son-in-law that he studied at the Cow Academy. Issei accepted her brunette's proposal. Ajuka. Well, young Issei, we go to his new residence to create a magical circle. The chestnut group along with new members disappeared from the Gremory castle. Ria's very happy to have a fiancé and made an oath that she will never betray or leave him for pretty faces with evil intentions. Human world, Cow City. Issei and the girls were left in awe of the size of the residence. The Mayu invites her to take a tour of the house. The girls were very amazed by their new home. The Juka left him a set of Cow Academy uniforms, which he will start tomorrow. Issei thanked the mass, the aforementioned accepted the wings, and they stayed like that for a few hours, until the mass left. Issei. You two, let's hope we get along, he said with a smile. Cirrus, Shulin, Burant and the twins blushed as masters again. Issei. Let's see how we're doing. I'll sleep in the double room and you choose your rooms, said a commanding voice. All. Hi. So the group went to sleep in their rooms to go to the academy. Kongu found Issei's room completely naked. How academy? Issei was following accompanied by Kongu, Kashima, Kaga, Uedachi and the twins at the school entrance. The female population screamed like crazy when they saw the new heartthrob, while the boys screamed to see that group of girls. Issei and his girls went to the address to inform him about the new student. After going through the paperwork, the director gave him which classroom he would be in. Kashima and Kaga in the third year were king and queen of the Gremory and Citri clan. The twin in Kaneko and Mitlet's group. Issei, Kaugu and Uedachi in the second classroom where Asia, Kiba, Ray are. The group separated. Issei told her that her last name would be Haidu for the girl, and they all accepted. 4 girls went to your classroom and made their presentations. Issei, Kongu and Uedachi arrived at their classroom and knocked on the door. Teacher. You are a new transfer student, said man. Issei. Yes, I replied. Teacher. Come in now. The teacher spoke to his students inside. Teacher. We have 3 new classmates, said the man. Everyone starts screaming. The girl in the class will be the boy they saw at the entrance. The boy will be some girl. Teacher. Order, order, he said, speaking loudly. Everyone calm down. Teacher. Make your introductions, the sensei indicated. Uedachi. My name is Uedachi Haidu and I come from Ireland, said the blonde. The boys screamed when they found out he had another blonde. Professor. Silence and continue with the presentation, said man. Kongu. Hi, my name is Kaugu Haidu, he said with a smile. Again the boys screamed, while the perverted duo looked at the brunette and blonde's bodies. That made the brown-haired boy annoyed that the boy was looking at him that way. Issei. My turn, my name is Issei van Helsing, he said coldly and with a murderous look at the boys in the classroom. Girls. Kai, we have a new heartthrob, they shouted. The boys remained silent because of that cold and murderous look that the brunette was giving them. 4 girls got wet seeing that look of the monster hunter. And it was Asia Argento, Ika Kiryu, Murayama and Caddis. Issei's crazy school life has just begun. Chapter 4 Hunter and Androsphinxes Part 1. You've spent almost 2 months in your new world. Our protagonists and their team adapted to their school life. Our girls begin to get along with their classmate and teacher, while Brown earned the title of Wild due to his physical education class, where he showed his physique, where his classmate had massive blushes and unholy thoughts towards Brown. His teacher was impressed by Issei's intelligence in his class, while the female population was already creating their own fan club. Issei was looking for the bullies and perverted duo to beat up, but in the end his aggressors ended up knocking out. His relationship with Riaz was going well. Issei helps the 5 group members adapt on each mission that was recommended by Ajuka, and members of the council in the part of the world related as renegade demon or dangerous rank. It also highlights that some pieces of the Gremory heiress went on that mission and wants to level up to possibly be threatened in the future. Issei and Riaz coordinated the teams in each mission to hunt renegade demons, and the teams were sent like this. Kiba, Shulin, Kashima and Rainer. Asia, Kongu, Mitlet and Cirrus. Aga Kaneko Isle, and Nell. Riaz, Uedachi and Bulant. Issei and Akeno. The chestnut also opened a business related to liquor, since a noble family from Germany in his world gave him a recipe for the best-known liquor Jägermeister. Issei began to process the drinks at the residence, and within a few months it was launched on the market. He also took advantage of Riaz getting to know our monster hunter better. She wanted to know the traditions of the Van Helsings, where the brown-haired boy explained what his father had said during his childhood. Aridid put a lot of effort into each piece of information that Issei said while he wrote it down in a notebook, and she wanted to know how the future matriarch of the Van Helsing clan was. Another successor that occurred was that the pawn Citrus tried to find a fight with him, since he saw him as someone weak and a loser to Issei, but the brown-haired boy accepted his fight where he humiliated Saji twice with the balance breaker, but more than drag, he cursed the monster hunter for having humiliated his bear. The summary of the first fight between Issei versus Saji, where the blonde ran away like a sissy. That changes. Some girls from Citri's entourage begin to like our protagonist in those 2 months. They were Aruko Nomura and Tomo Meguri. Present. Issei was in his office reading some reports of the group's missions, but suddenly someone knocked on the door. Issei. The door is open, said the brown-haired boy without looking. The person who entered the office was Kashima with a cup of coffee that she was carrying to the table. Kashima. I brought you your coffee, Issei said to the silver-haired boy with a smile. The brown-haired boy stopped reading the documents and heard Kashima's voice. Issei. Thanks for bringing my coffee, said the brown-haired boy as he took a sip. Kashima. Phew, that's good, and by the way I have a report, she said seriously. Issei. Proceed to tell me without losing detail, he said from his place. Kashima. All the members of Rya-sama went out to make a contract and return at night, or tomorrow the new group members were having a training by Kaga and Kongu, he said informed. Issei. I see you, and Rya's. Yuadachi. I ask. Kashima. Yuadachi is in the kitchen eating snacks, and about Rya-sama, she will have a meeting with Sona-sama in a few weeks, about something. She finished her report. Suddenly a hologram of Ajuka appears on Issei's desk. Ajuka. Sorry for interrupting what you were doing, said the green-haired man. Issei. It was just a report, and what business you have for me today, he said with a serious expression. Kill. Direct to the point, Agree said in a serious tone. The chestnut attended and let the information be revealed. Ajuka. You see, we arrived to report that there is an abnormality in the Okinawa region. According to the survivors of the special group sent by two of the mass, they said that it was a monster that had the ability to scream and then wipe out half of the group, said the green-haired man, while reading a paper in his hands. Issei. I see, you want me to take the matter to finish off the monster, or am I wrong, said the brown-haired boy. Ajuka. You are right, the reward is greater than the previous ones, and you are approved by the council member, and I said the mass. Issei. Send me the coordinates, and tomorrow we start the hunt, he said with a smile. Ajuka. The address will arrive within an hour, the hologram said, cut off. Issei. Kashima, said the brown-haired boy seriously. Kashima. Hi, he replied in the same tone. Issei. Call everyone, and also Rya's here in my office, he said as an order. Kashima. Understood, Issei-sama as he left his boss's office. Half an hour later, the entire team including Rya's was in the brown-haired boy's office. Kaga. Well, Ice, why did you have this meeting? Said the brunette. Issei. A few minutes ago you received information about tips in Ajuka, said the hunter. Bulant. What kind of information was it, Isama? The French maid said. Issei. A special group sent by Felbium and Surziches went to a region in southern Japan to investigate an abandoned hospital, said Chestnut. Yudachi. What happened to the group? Asked the blonde. Kashima. According to the report, half of the group was slaughtered by an unrecognized monster, and half returned to the underworld to inform the foremass, the silver-haired girl responded. Rya's. This means that the team had no order to attack, I suppose, said the redeed. Issei. Hypothetically yes, they just went to investigate what was happening there, and perhaps the leader of the group did something stupid and attacked creatures without knowing what monster or demon he was facing, said the brown-haired boy. Shulan. That's right, said the former Phoenix Tower. Kongu. I imagine the Ajuka-sama wants to investigate and kill monster, said the English accent Chestnut. Issei. You hit the nail on the head, I'll take care of this, but as a group, he said seriously. Rya's. Who will he take on the mission? She said curiously. Issei. It would be Kaga, Kiba, Cirrus, Kongu and Asia, he said the names of the group. The three mentioned stepped forward after hearing their name. Issei. Prepare everything for tomorrow, we will leave in the afternoon after school, said his leader. Kaga, Cirrus, Kongu. Understood, they said in unison. Rya's. I will inform my knight and bishop, but he will also have a backup team, told his fiancée. Issei. Since you are the king you have to choose who you will go to, he said with a smile. Rya's. Then I chose Kashima, Kaneko, Yudachi and Rainer command for me, told the redeed. Issei. That's all for today, the meeting is over and you can go to sleep in your rooms, said a commanding voice. Everyone responded as if, starting to leave Issei's office, but the only ones left were Kongu and Rya's, who fell asleep in Issei's room naked. The next day, the Gremory monster hunting group had a normal day at school, where Issei was harassed by the three girls in his class after introducing themselves 2 months ago, but it was Aika, Kadis and Murayama who were his biggest fans during some class hours, but he was seen by Kongu, Rainer, Asia and Yudachi to see the behavior of their friends. It was already getting dark, both groups went to the hidden club to make preparations for the Okinawa mission. Issei had his fighting outfit, Yudachi and Kongu had the same outfit when they came to this world, as well as Cirrus with, Asia with her nun outfit with his weapons, and finally Kiba wore his school uniform. Since he doesn't have fighting clothes, although he already had his sword ready to hunt. Our Chestnut saw everyone gathered and spoke in a serious tone. Issei. Before starting today's mission, we will review the plan, said the monster hunter. Everyone nodding their heads to indicate that they understand, Issei takes out a magical device to show a map of the city. The chestnut takes the words. Issei. What you are seeing on the screen are the points of the city of Okinawa. Looking at the screen. Mitlet. Which is another point, said the curious blonde. Rias. That point is the area where the monster attacked, said the redeed. Issei. After withdrawing the reconnaissance group, the monster killed some humans for week after week while showing reports of unknown deaths on the news or social networks. Ailey and Nell. It's a big problem, said the twin. Issei. Exactly, what we know today is that their next attack will be at the dock warehouses, he said seriously. Issei. The plan is as follows, the team formed by me will be in charge of killing the creatures, while the second team will create a barrier and backup in case it gets out of control, he said in a commanding voice. Queen Gremory raised her hand to Chestnut. Akeno. What are we going to do? She said seriously. Rias. You with Mitlet, Shuela, the twins and Buland will take charge of eliminating the renegade demon north of Cow City, the redeed responded. 5. Hi, we will make our effort, they said together. Issei. Without further ado, Rias and Akeno create the magic transportation circle, the brown-haired boy ordered while turning off the device. Both king and queen made a space to make a large magic circle for the two groups. Akeno. The magic circle is ready, said the brunette. Issei. Okay, I want everything in the circle, said the brown-haired boy. All. Yes sir, they said excitedly. Thus the two teams entered the circle saying goodbye to their teammates while Akeno looked at her group. Akeno. It's time to hunt demons, she said in a sadistic tone. They all attended and left the club in secret. Scene change, location unknown. Inside a warehouse that belongs to the branches of the Orthodox, Fried was currently fighting with his Excalibur rapid fire against preachers of the Orthodox Church. A street exorcist made a carnage, leaving decapitated body of the preachers who could do nothing against an Excalibur. Fried. Those trash were no match for my sword, Chan, he said in a retaliatory tone. Suddenly we will see a young man who was bucking some of his attackers who were 3 adult women, only 2 were lying on the ground with a Hega expression. While the third one was on top of her, moving her hips and moaning like a whore in heat. Yer, another one falls before my charm, said the young man with an evil smile. Fried lifts the hand of one of the preachers and leads him to a fingerprint identification machine, where that is where the authorization for the warehouse to be opened is given. Fried. Ready, boss, said the crazy exorcist. Excellent, go in there and take out the gun, he said seriously. The white-haired man agreed and entered the chamber, where after a few minutes the exorcist took out a black crystal sword and showed it to his boss's son. Who would have thought that those bastards had such a powerful sword, said the mysterious young man. Until the woman who did not lose in pleasure spoke. Woman 3. This sword was found in northern Siberia 25 years ago, the woman reported while continuing at work. Oh, interesting, I think Dad loves that weapon and thanks for the help. I don't know your name, he said while he was about to climax. Woman 3. Sorry, my name is Lena and from now on I am your bitch, she said with lust and now identified as Lena. Well, Lena now has her reward, he said to release all the semen in the woman. Lena. Yes thank you, ladies and gentlemen, said the woman before fainting. The mysterious young man stands up while placing his new hex toy on the floor in the middle of his partner. Well, the mission is complete, so it's time to clean this place to avoid suspicion, he said. To take out an explosive device from the same church developed was not approved by the Vatican and threw it to the ground with a quick stopwatch, 5 minutes to explode. We have about 5 minutes to get out of here, put away the sword and we will go to the city of Cow and also wake up my hex slaves because I'm not finished yet, she ordered seriously. Fried. Understood, boss, said the madman while putting the sword in his case where he took it out. While the fallen young man created a magic circle to escape, he had Lena in his arm, while Fried had the other 2 entering the magic circle. Thank you, sir, for giving me this sword with great pleasure. My father, Kakabiel, will thank you when the new war restarts and his reward will be that this place explodes, he said maliciously. The 5 of you disappeared from the cellar while a group of preachers were in a hurry to get down there, but inside they heard an explosion. LP. Quick, we have to get to the warehouse, said the leader of the preachers who had a black key. All. At your command, leader, said the others. When taking the climb that was going towards the winery and when I arrived seeing that the whole place was destroyed. Q1. But what happened here? He said, annoyed, looking as if the warehouse was a disaster. The group leader told him to start searching for evidence of what had happened, everyone agreed and started searching. When suddenly one of the men shouted that he found something and they all went inside. LP. Find you something, he said seriously. Q10. Yes, it seems that someone violated the security system and the surveillance camera was destroyed, reported to the man. LP. And what else did you find? I ask. Q8. The fingerprint panel of the maximum security warehouse was damaged by the explosion, another man said. LP. Who would do that to come in here? He said thoughtfully, and suddenly his mind remembered that he had kept the dangerous swords here for 25 years. LP. I want you to check if the sword is still inside the cellar, he said more seriously. Each member of the group obeyed the order of their leader and began to search for a trail. LP. I hope the sword stays here, since no one can control its power, he said in his mind about him while also helping. Change of scene, Okinawa, Japan. Issei and Ria's group left the magic circle a few meters from the crime scene in a house. The brown-haired boy looked at his watch, which was 7 p.m, and thought that he had arrived too early to do the mission. Issei. We will begin to search for the creatures, since this time they should be looking for their next prey, he said seriously. The entire group attending in response. Issei. Also, at this time there are some ships that are unloading merchandise from other countries, said the brown-haired boy. Rias. That would be a problem, we can't draw the attention of the humans in the area, said the Gremory heiress. Haga. I better have an idea, said the brunette. Issei. Tell me your idea, I said interested. Haga. If Ria-sama's team goes to this hospital where the group sent by the mass was attacked and can investigate what happened there, she said seriously. Issei. That would be a good point, and what do you think? Rias has said to look at his fiancée. Rias. It would be the most sensitive thing to investigate, and perhaps we can discover the identity of the monster. I agree to go, she said with determination. Issei. If it is your decision, I accept it. We will modify the plan again. It is as follows. The main group commanded by me will go to the dock and hunt the monster, said the brown-haired man. Rias. Me and my team will go to the abandoned hospital to investigate, and we will report back, said the redeed. Issei. Does anyone have a doubt about the plan? The brown-haired boy saw that Kashima raised his hand. Kashima. If I have a doubt, you brought the device to create an emergency barrier, said the albino. Issei. I always bring it for emergencies, he said to show a device that Ajuka gave him as gifts. Asia. Enough talk, I'm getting bored and it's time to hunt, said the ex-nun who was losing patience. Issei. Well, let's start hunting, he said as he jumped towards the roof of the house and was followed by his group. So Chestnut and his team began to jump into the trees of the forest, while Rias and the others went in a magic circle towards the abandoned hospital. Information about the protagonists. Part 1. Isay Van Helsing. Occupation. Monster hunter. Age. 17. Race. Human werewolf. Skills. Expert in classic weapons such as crossbow, toho blades among others, sword and katana, hand-to-hand combat. Clan. Van Helsing. Rias Gremory. Occupation. Gremory heiress king hunters. Age. 18. Race. Pure demon. Skills. Power of destruction in different forms, expert in hand-to-hand combat. Clan. Gremory Van Helsing. Udachi Haidu. Occupation. Hunters. Age. 16. Race. Human. Skills. Expert in European sword art. Clan. Van Helsing. Hongu Haidu. Occupation. Hunters. Age. 17. Race. Human. Skills. Hand-to-hand combat expert. Clan. Van Helsing. Kashima Prefectural Government. Occupation. Hunters. Age. 17. Race. Human. Skills. Firearms and long-distance expert. Clan. Van Helsing. Hagahaidu. Occupation. Hunters. Age. 18. Race. Half-human elemental. Skills. Bow expert. Clan. Van Helsing. Bakenohim and Jima. Occupation. Queen hunters. Age. 18. Race. Human fallen demon. Skills. Expert in magic and sacred lightning element. Clan. Gremory Van Helsing. Asia silver. Occupation. Bishop hunters. Age. 16. Race. Human demon. Skills. Expert in firearms of all types in hand-to-hand combat. Clan. Gremory Van Helsing. Hineko, Shirin Toho. Occupation. Tower hunters. Age. 15. Race. Nekomata demons. Abilities. Super strength Senjutsu and use of ninja weapons. Clan. Gremory Van Helsing. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.